It's Wellness Wednesdays. It's Wellness Wednesdays, the first Wellness Wednesday of 2022. Yay! And I'm always motivated to do Wellness Wednesdays. Wellness Wednesdays is the easiest video of the week for me to get psyched up for because this 2022 motivation, because the whole dumb idea of New Year's resolutions happens this time of year. I'll get to why New Year's resolutions are dumb, don't worry. But I thought I'd talk about motivation and how to stay motivated, how to be motivated, because it's connected to some concepts that, like so many other things that we talk about on Wellness Wednesdays, there's a concept on top of a concept on top of a concept, and it's like people talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but there are sort of fundamentals that, well, you got to get the concept of resiliency down before you can get the concept of motivation down. Now, we've talked about resiliency before. Some of this may be a refresher for people that haven't watched previous Wellness Wednesdays, but the Leanna Care service is coming. I've actually started doing some sessions just informally. People sort of email me or something like that, and a lot of them are coming through Patreon. What I'm eventually going to do, one of the things I'm motivated to do right now, is to just basically get a Gmail account for this kind of stuff that people can use while we're getting the website built. So if you want to support these endeavors, help support this channel, become a monthly patron, patreon.com/Leanna K. Leanna Cares is the one-on-one sort of Zoom call discussion for people who want, for a reasonable fee, to talk about something more specific to them as an outreach of Wellness Wednesdays. Because this is working. This is giving people useful skills. And so, it's just an extension of that. It's nice to be able to work on stuff. Hello, phone. It's nice to be able to work on stuff that feels good instead of it being stuff that's just sort of, this is what I do. And to me, that's a big thing about motivation. People use different metaphors for this. One person says, one take I've heard is, every crime needs motive and opportunity, and motivation's no different. I prefer to sort of use the journalistic W5H, who, what, when, where, why, and how. Unless you can answer all of those questions, you don't have a complete view of something. And the why of things, I find, is especially important to getting and staying motivated about something. That helps you weather the difficulties that come up when you're doing anything, of any real scale. Those of you who are Kickstarter backers of the Saga Sparkle Buffet project will have seen the numerous updates that went out this week about the collecting the data for people's NPC characters, because Kickstarter didn't have the functionality to attach an image to the survey, so we moved to Google Forms. But Kickstarter doesn't like you going outside of Kickstarter for data collection for your backers, and so they made it as difficult and as annoying as possible. There was a lot of stuff, and there were moments of, I really don't want to do this. How can I play a little trick on myself to get myself to do this, to actually sit down and do it? Because to me, there are certain things that I absolutely need uninterrupted time to make sure I get it done properly, instead of making it slapdash. And anything that involves giving people instructions, anything that's remotely like technical writing, is there. So it's like, I set a date for myself, and I find planning, I'm going to do this on this date, this is my goal for that day, instead of having a to-do list of, 20 things. I'm better with, I'm going to do this on that day. And I wake up that morning knowing that's what I'm going to do that day. Now, this may not work for you. This is something that works for me. Other things I do are it's like, well, if I get these things done on this day, then I'll play video games afterwards, right? But not before, after. Those little rewards for yourself for getting things done help a lot with motivation. The big mistake I tend to make with motivation is I try to do too much too fast. I get burned out and I start getting brain fog and I start getting sick. And that's something that I'm working really, really hard to get better at. Now, it's very difficult in the Zoom workplace because people are not terribly understanding of, no, I am not available, because the attitude is, you're at home, you're available, what else are you doing? It's like, those 7 other tasks you gave me? Well, I'm doing those. So would you like me to not do those, or do you want me to do this meeting? The challenge when you're doing contract work is you're doing a bunch of stuff for a bunch of different people, and setting those boundaries is very, very difficult. But it's important because nothing saps your motivation more than fatigue. And this isn't just applicable to big creative projects. It's anything. It's exercising better. It's eating right. If you feel crappy, you're going to lose your motivation to do it. So getting enough sleep is super important. Yes, sometimes you have to choose between sleep and gaming wins. We all know that. But if that's only every so often, then, the next day you feel good instead of feeling crappy. You do it too many times, you start feeling worn down and crappy, right? You know this. We know this. This is adulting. But it's amazing how many people have been trained to believe that you have to be tired and miserable all the time to prove you're working hard. There are various reasons for that, but that's not true. Working smart means you're giving people your best when you're there, instead of giving people 35% because they want you there just sort of as a principle of the thing. You must attend meetings, and corporations are great for that. So many companies love freaky meetings. I'm not a let's have a lot of meetings person. I'm a let's have a meeting when we need a meeting. And then, do regular meetings every so often, just to stay on the ball. But I'm let's have a meeting when we need a meeting kind of person. Other people are different. Some people who are more extroverted prefer more meeting time, and that's fine. I can motivate myself to attend a sort of happy medium. Okay, I want a meeting every 2 weeks. They want a meeting every 1 week, but they respect my off time between those. A big thing when you're doing consulting is it's like, I work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays on this project. That means I work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday on this project. You want me on Thursday, maybe not so much. It's just like being scheduled for an in-person job, right? Now, people get pissy about that. It's difficult, and people not respecting agreements can be extremely demotivating. If you're an employer, one of the things we're working very hard on with, and it's interesting how game theory applies into this, is because, motivation in games is a big thing. We're applying this to community for the game. We're being very slow and very methodical about building the Discord server. And what Discord server? It's not open to the public yet. It's going to go various backer tiers first, and patrons, and then the general public. Because one of the things we want is a set of rules that are understandable, enforceable, and based on behaviors, not opinions, or not identities. So, because that motivates good behavior instead of motivating bad behavior. And it is possible to motivate yourself in the wrong direction. It really is. A lot of people do it. The studies on what motivates people to do different things, right? For instance, the like and dislike buttons on social media. You'd think that people would chase likes, right? That's not necessarily what they found. They actually found that anything with an upvote, downvote system actually encourages bad behavior, acting out, not good behavior, because people respond more strongly to rejection than they do to praise on average. And yet, they continue to have the like and dislike buttons because engagement. So what's the motivation there? Driving clicks, driving advertising dollars for the social media company, not, motivating creators to create high quality content that's informative and not based on drama. And so one of the things I have to motivate myself to do is create high quality content, even as the views are not, especially lately, not where I'd like it to be, but that's deliberate because the more I get into the mental health, the more I get into the people having fun stuff, my motivation to sacrifice traffic for a positive experience for the people who are here, I am much more motivated by quality of experience, quality of comments, quality of discussion than a view counter. And that takes some doing. It's easy to panic when you see declines, especially since I fucked up my algorithm with streaming on YouTube. Found out after the fact that's a bad thing to do, to stream on the channel that you do your pre-recorded videos on. But live and learn. I'll recover. It happens, right? But that's the thing. That is another thing. Resilience is connected to self-compassion. Self-compassion is one of the first things I talked about on Wellness Wednesday, and it is directly tied to motivation. Directly tied to motivation. You have to be good to yourself to get motivated and stay motivated, because negative self-talk is the enemy of motivation. And bit of refresher on self-compassion. A lot of people are much harder on themselves than they are anybody else. Some people are really brutal to everybody because they're so hard on themselves. Neither of those states is ideal. An ideal state is, would you judge another person negatively for doing this? No, then why are you judging yourself negatively? And if you do tend to judge other people negatively, why? What does that give you other than a sense of superiority and or fairness in the world, right? And that sense of fairness is extremely important. There are other ways to get it than being a critical jerk, right? People don't tend to like to be around critical people. So if you want to achieve your goals, you got to watch the criticism, because anything of any magnitude requires other people to do. And, the video I did yesterday talked about that myth of, the auteur who, you don't support the vision, you're gone. I really think that's a fading paradigm. There will always be those hyped up stories. But one of the things I like about game dev is, even though those stories exist, you can work for people who are not like that in game development, in film and television. It's more film than television, but it's very, very, very hard to not work for an asshole like that. That's part of the reason I like gaming, and I prefer television to film, but I prefer gaming to television. Radio's got a lot of jerks like that. Radio, I don't get it. But the people you work with are another major motivating factor, because the people around you are either going to encourage self-compassion, they're going to create a supportive environment, or they're going to feed into that criticism structure. And the reason compassion, the reason a healthy balance of praise and criticism is important for motivation is because it's not enough to know what you shouldn't do again. You know not to go there. You know not to go there. You ever been in a level where, okay, you can't go there, and you can't go there, and you can't go there. Where the fuck do you go? So you sit there paralyzed doing nothing. That's exactly what happens in an environment where the only feedback is criticism. You need some sort of pathfinding. You need some sort of guidance as to the correct way to go so you don't stand there doing nothing. And that, the support systems around you are can be very helpful. They can be very detrimental. Now, what do you do if you find that you're in a very critical environment? You may not have all that much control over it, especially, now's a really good time to be looking for a new job. It's a good labor market right now. Maybe take advantage of it, but also, seek out the people you have found praiseworthy, and you have found, and give compliments. Tell people honestly when they did a good job. It's amazing how much taking the first step in that regard actually lets other people know that they won't be made fun of if they give you a compliment. That may sound insane, but that is something I've found. People are so afraid of being considered creepy that they don't give credit where credit's due. They don't say, hey, you did a really good job on that or something like that. And sometimes because they're afraid, I don't want that person to think I'm interested in them or hitting on them, or I don't want to get falsely accused. So it's actually shutting down praise in collaborative environments because people don't want to seem like creepers, because apparently praise is creepy. At least it was in 2021. So, I try to set an example of going, that was really great. I did it with the Kickstarter stuff. It was frustrating that it was so complicated and so difficult. And so, when people asked questions because they were confused, I thanked them for the question. I thanked them for letting me know there was an issue because, it's 136 backers. If one person has a particular problem, especially with something on the internet, like technological, some sort of user interface, guaranteed somebody else is going to have that same problem, right? So that one person telling me so that I can send a message out to everybody helps multiple people. Thank you for that. I really appreciate that. That doesn't take much, but that's motivating positive behavior. And believe it or not, it actually gives me a little boost of positivity. Even though I'm sitting here going, why Kickstarter? Why? That little moment of thanks, that was really great. That actually makes me feel better. And this may sound weird. This may sound totally counterintuitive. The praising other people makes the speaker feel better, but try it. It might work for you. I really like being able to say something is really awesome. I'm enjoying this shit out of Far Cry 6. I don't care if anybody else likes Far Cry 6. I think it's great. And hopefully some dev who worked on the game will hear I think it's great, and it'll give them that little boost, because I know there's a lot of criticism when you work in game dev, especially AAA game dev, but everything. I think it's fun for whatever that's worth. I cannot figure out which amigo is my favorite. I don't know. I love them all. But, that's not going to get you a ton of traffic on YouTube praising things. People seek out negativity because people feel, I guess insulated if against something that offends them, if somebody else doesn't like it too. And again, it's that balancing that sense of fairness when you feel like there's an injustice happening in the world, and maintaining your own motivation and focus on positive things. If you are focusing too much on negatives, be it in the news, be it on social media, be it in your own personal life, you're going to spend all your focus and all your energy, or the majority of it, on those negatives instead of motivating yourself towards positives. And blocking out the negatives, basically going, I can't deal with that right now, is really the only way to handle that. You will take shit. You will take shit. If you want some pointers on how to say, I can't deal with the negativity right now in a way that will be better received, I'm happy to make a video on that. But sometimes you just have to do it. You have to say it. You know, if somebody's high maintenance or somebody's sensitive, don't tell them, but sort of, it is fine to say, look, I need some time, or I am not in the best place right now. I need a couple days. Or, I can't talk about this right now. I need to focus, not forever, just not now. Right. And the not now versus not forever is a big distinction. It's really important to not make a person feel completely rejected. It's important to let somebody know it's the timing, not them personally or the nature of the concern. And then, of course, there are some people who just will not take no for an answer. They don't respect boundaries, and they got to go for your life as soon as you can. Because the most motivating environment you can have is social environment. The most demotivating environment you can have is social environment. And one thing I will challenge, that if you find yourself constantly around negative people, watch your own communication style. Try to see if you yourself are being negative, because I find people with similar perspectives gravitate together. When I was doing a lot of fandom stuff, like a lot of convention running and stuff like that, I had no idea how negative I was being, because I just got sucked in, right? It's such a negative environment. It's so backstabby and critical and insecure that it infected me. And I had to walk away from it to sort of get my positivity back and get my motivation back to do anything but get sucked into con drama, right? And that doesn't mean other people can't participate in that stuff and not have that experience. That was just mine. You know, there's no one size fits all. What I may find incredibly demotivating, lots of meetings, other people may find very motivating. Some people may get supercharged out of lots of meetings. And the challenge in managing teams is make sure everybody's getting enough motivating factors and not too many demotivating factors. And that can be more art than science, and that requires a lot of communication. So I'm interested in your comments. What motivates you? I mean, to me, like I said, it's these little tricks. Like, okay, if I do this and I get it done, I'll do this afterwards. Or the whole thing of, all right, today's a wipeout, today's a wash, tomorrow I am going to do this, 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 and this. I find not only do I sleep better because I'm not doing the mental churn at night, when I know what I'm doing tomorrow, when it's locked in, no questions, this is the priority. Everything else, not so much. This is the priority. I find I sleep better, and I find I wake up the next day more motivated to get up and start doing something. Instead of those days where you're like, I'll get up, I'll, this, that, the next thing. I was really unmotivated to exercise during the holidays. Part of it is because my priority was rest. But man, come Monday, I was there. I was on the bike. I've been doing weights. I've been doing stretches. I've been doing sit-ups. I've been doing it because I got a break and was away long enough to miss it and go, I actually did enjoy that. That did make me feel better. All right. And sometimes that distance, taking a bit of a break from something, you may feel like you're being irresponsible. You're not. A lot of AAA game companies now are putting in, paid burnout leave, 2 weeks burnout leave, because it's real and because it's really hard to predict when it's going to hit. I think that's a really good thing. I probably could have used another week, but I admit I'm feeling a lot better that I did take that time. I did some work around the house. I packed up a bunch of stuff, got rid of a bunch of clothes, this, that, the next thing, binged watched Money Heist on Netflix, and finally got back into playing video games again, something I wasn't doing a lot of since about October because of the crowdfund and developing the game and all that stuff. And I just really didn't want to. I wasn't really motivated to play AAA video games for a while. I had my reasons. I won't get into them. They're not super important, but I needed that time away to get a palate cleanse. And I knew don't get back into it until you feel like you want to. Don't turn on that game just because you bought it and you're like, oh, I wasted money. You'll get to it, but do it when it's going to be fun. And I'm glad I did, because otherwise going, looking for everything that's wrong with it. I'm like, this is super fun. And Chorizo's adorable. And I like Huapo and, Boom Boom the doggy in Far Cry 6, instead of, oh, well, that and that and that, and that's a problem, and that glitched, and the audio glitches, so on and so forth. Ugh. I admit I did find learning the new PS5 control stuff a little intimidating. And that was a little bit demotivating to playing new games. So weird. The enhanced tactile feedback on the PS5 controller, it doesn't feel familiar anymore, right? Like just figuring out how to turn your console off. It takes a bit of work because it's a double bar now instead of that menu. But I finally figured it out, and I gave myself the time, and I practiced that self-compassion, and I maintained my resilience by making sure I didn't, I got run down, but I didn't get as run down as I did the last time. Improvement. Me getting run down is a major thing I constantly struggle with, because I am a creative person. I throw myself into projects. I am an ideas person, but I'm also highly empathetic. So I'm really bad at giving too much and not taking enough back in. And getting really sick is a good motivator to do better at that. So to recap, if you are looking for motivation, you may feel like the right thing to do is beat yourself up. Come on, you got to get better. No. Positive. Pull. Don't constantly smack yourself in the back of the head. It's not pushing you. No, it's pulling. What's going to make me want to do this? What's going to make me want to do this? What's going to make me want to do this? Think of moving towards something instead of trying to get away from something. Medium to long term, your motivation maintains if you set one foot in front of the other. That old song. If it's small, achievable goals that you can see that are, manageable enough to be able to do this one, and then this one, and then this one. How do you eat the elephant? One bite at a time, right? Set those out using scheduling, using positive self-talk, using personal rewards, so on and so forth. And work out a plan that way, even if it's just a few days in advance. It helps tame the chaos and really helps you focus and stay motivated. Interested in what you have to say about this? What are your tips for motivation? Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron. Patreon.com/LeannaK. Thanks for watching.